Yellow Rabbit Film Study presents Memories of Murder. Here are 2 Feet Curious. No context spoilers, but then a lot of spoilers. Here's basically the whole movie. When you see it, you'll get a better idea of what this means. There's a huge plot point involving some mail. It'll make sense later. Okay, I did it. I saved a Bong Joon-ho movie for a special occasion, and to no surprise, it lived up to the hype. I'm so glad I saved it. It was magical. This movie rules with a capital R and capital Z. Rules. There are all manner of awesome video essays for it here on YouTube, some that probably even spell check, but I have a unique viewpoint I'd like to emphasize. Obviously, Director Bong is a master, like master. Like Masterclass YouTube ad for Masterclass Master doesn't even count as a starting point for him. His attention to detail and care for a woven and cohesive narrative sits in your frontal cortex and ages like fine wine while it percolates like fine coffee, while it smokes like a brisket from the bedrock of a Texas cattle farm. Needless to say, I think about these movies a lot, and then I think about thinking about them. I watched this movie last night, and this is my next day review. Doubtless I can see myself coming back to it time and time again, looking at you, Criterion, but for now, in the words of Michael Pena as Officer Zavala, let's focus on comfortable footwear. Police work is all about comfortable footwear. Shoes, that's right, shoes. And I want to look at 3 pairs in this movie. For real, they stole my heart, taught a lesson, and left me with a pat on the forehead and a good luck champ. It's a crazy world out there, and there's a lot to learn. Here are the 3 pairs. Part 1, the Nikes. Geez, that kid left me with a lot of feelings. After clearly identifying him as someone with special needs, the detective focuses on his tangential relationship to our victim, mostly the fact that she's pretty, and they torture and force a confession out of him. It's hard to watch, it's heartbreaking, it's desperate, and while we know, we can read the title, what type of movie we're getting into, it was still really rough to jump right into a forced confession right off the bat. But where do the shoes come in? As a placated form of penance, Detective Park goes to the restaurant owned by his family and brings him a pair of shoes. The kid is reasonably excited at the prospect of new shoes, but the rest of the dinner party makes a point of noting that they're knockoffs. And if you're giving a gift and or saying sorry, you should buy the real thing. Essentially, if you are sorry, you should mean it. Don't present a half-hearted knockoff apology, regardless of the terms of the situation. Authenticity is important. Honesty is important. Truth's important, even in the most trying of circumstances. This observation on integrity continues to make appearances throughout the film and throughout the shoes. Part 2, combat or combative boots. So even if you've only seen the trailer for this, you will probably get to a point where you're like, dang, there's a lot of people getting drop kicked. In fact, I think one of the character's primary function is to kick forced confessions into and out of people, is a play on the idiom of kicking some sense into someone. I've never seen anything like it. The special combat boots worn by this character get a lot of attention and keeps him in good conditions, and before and after he starts most of his kicking, he puts a little cover on them so they don't get scratched. Ironic when you're bashing a confession into someone. There's lots of shots of this character, and almost all of them somehow involve his boots. So this in and of itself would have been, enough layers to satisfy the average moviegoer, but this is director Bong we're talking about. This is magical masterclass beyond all understanding. So what happens to the boots? He gets tetanus from the nice Nikes after he puts a rusted nail of a table leg into his calf, and this leads to an amputation. An eye for an eye? A leg for a leg? Okay, now we're on it. Masterclass leg work. Look at all these layers. So how can this be topped? Not gonna lie, the relationship between the Nike and the boots was mind-blowing, but for our final pair of shoes, we have to look at the detective. The dedicated detective is beyond a cinematic trope at this point, but it doesn't mean we can't see something powerful. Watching anyone compromise on their morals and lose grip on a crippling situation is tough, and we see that in our almost final scene of this film at the train tracks. The big city detective is ensconced in black, except for his white pair of shoes. They are dirty, worn, and tired, literally and figuratively. And that's when our local officer reminds him of how they should conduct themselves. A powerful visual metaphor complemented by the time, setting, place, characters, acting, script, and plot, aka everything in the movie. So where are we? What have we learned? Wherever we are, our 2 feet carry us. Thanks for watching Yellow Rabbit Film Study.